Y a partir de este momento, Montgomery al Día. Un programa presentado por el Condado de Montgomery con el objetivo de mantener a la población latina informada sobre todo lo que acontece en nuestro condado. Un espacio informativo para que usted obtenga acceso directo a los servicios de su gobierno local. Aquí da inicio Montgomery al Día. Queda con ustedes la presentadora de este programa y portavoz hispana del Condado de Montgomery, Lorna Virgilí.
Así es, queridos amigos, muy buenas tardes y bienvenidos una vez más a Montgomery al Día, su programa oficial del Gobierno del Condado de Montgomery, galardonado a nivel nacional. Y como cada martes a las 2 de la tarde, acá su portavoz hispana, Lorna Virgilí, muchísimas gracias por esa sintonía. Y en el día de hoy, precisamente, ustedes y nosotros estamos de aniversario. ¿Por qué? 12 años cumpliendo que estamos acá en Radio América, gracias al apoyo de la emisora y también de nuestro gobierno del Condado de Montgomery, precisamente para traerles a ustedes información sobre nuestro gobierno del Condado de Montgomery. Muchísimas gracias por esa solidaridad, compañía, audiencia durante todos estos años. Y hoy estamos de fiesta, estamos celebrando. Y qué mejor invitado para este episodio 581 que nuestro propio Ejecutivo del Condado de Montgomery, Marck Elrich. Bienvenido, señor Ejecutivo.
Bienvenidos and congratulations on 12th anniversary.
Gracias.
That's a good one.
We got to get to 15. Then there will be a fantastic one.
That can be done.
Increments of 5. Bueno, muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos acá en el día de hoy. Y pues esta celebración coincide que usted hace justamente 20 días presentó el presupuesto operativo del condado para el año fiscal 2025. Un presupuesto que tomó 10 reuniones comunitarias, foros comunitarios. You had 10 community conversations before creating this budget, your recommended operating budget. Tomó más de 7 meses, right? It's about 7 months to get it together, yeah. Roughly. Okay.
Takes a while.
It's over 860 pages. And it's $7.1 billion, $7,000 millones de dólares, señores, muchísimo dinero. Así que let's get started. We're not going to cover the entire budget because obviously we cannot cover over 860 pages today, but it's been in the hands of County Council for the last 20 days. What would you say are the key priorities to this particular budget for fiscal year 2025?
I think first of all is obviously maintaining adequate funding for the schools so they can continue to deal with the issues that they're dealing with. Second, to maintain our commitment to the necessary social services. We know that, even out of the pandemic, there's still a fair amount of unemployment, particularly among low-income people or reduced employment. We know that people are struggling with rents and with food prices. So, we're making sure that we're active there. Also dealing with the mental health issues. Mm-hmm. And we know that HHS has to handle, so we put more money into that. That's been really important. We put money into economic development. We're really working on upgrading what Montgomery County has so we can continue to be a leader in life sciences. And we think, we've grown to be the number 3 center, and we have our sights on higher. And we also, in order to get there, we know what kind of things we need to do to make that possible.
Let me go ahead and translate some of that.
Yeah.
You forget that I need to translate, interpret that, not translate, interpret. Algunos de lo que son los puntos claves de este presupuesto que, bueno, es un presupuesto de más de 860 páginas, no lo vamos a cubrir todo en el día de hoy, pero definitivamente incluye fondos adecuados para las operaciones de las escuelas públicas del condado de Montgomery, servicios sociales. Comprendemos que muchas familias de bajos ingresos pues han tenido problemas y falta de empleos, más el incremento en los precios de los alimentos, cuidado de salud mental, añadidura de fondos para nuestro Departamento de Salud y también fondos para el desarrollo económico del condado, inversiones en lo que es la industria de las ciencias vivas. Somos el tercer lugar a nivel nacional y pues obviamente queremos ser superior a number 3. Superar eso. When you say support to education, MCPS, higher education institutions, what does a budget include to continue to support? You mentioned adequate funding.
So we have a rule about what do you call it, maintenance of effort, and we exceeded maintenance of effort. We could have reduced our funding by $27 million. Instead, we're over $100 million, well over $100 million over maintenance of effort. We fully funded the contracts and the benefits, made it possible to hire the additional, they particularly need teachers in special education, so we were able to provide enough funding for that, cover inflationary costs, and cover the responsibilities that the school system has under Blueprint. So those are big things that, we were able to do. It's one of the largest budget increases ever, and the largest increase that wasn't accompanied by a tax increase. So we did all that without a tax increase.
Déjeme traducir esto en términos de las escuelas públicas del condado de Montgomery, pues es uno de los presupuestos, el presupuesto más elevado que ha recibido las escuelas públicas. Se cubre lo que es el esfuerzo de mantenimiento. Esto es dictado por parte del estado de Maryland. Excedimos por encima unos 100 millones de lo que dicta el estado que se debe cubrir por parte del condado, y esto incluye los contratos, beneficios, sobre todo para la contratación de maestros de educación especial, incluyendo no solamente las responsabilidades del sistema de escuelas públicas, sino también costos de inflación para las escuelas del condado de Montgomery. How is the budget, Mr. County Executive, addressing the needs of vulnerable populations? Like you already mentioned education, which covers a little bit about children, but seniors and individuals with disabilities.
So we continue to expand, our senior programs are looking for more opportunities for outreach and to make sure that our services are reaching there. We've expanded another food program for seniors. We're adding a third site for senior lunches at the Silver Spring Center. So we're continuing to put money into the senior programs. And for people with disabilities, we gave the service providers of a 3% increase in funding to, deal with inflation and the increased wages. So we've made sure that they're getting enough money to continue to stay ahead of the minimum wage, which they need to be able to do, and to recognize that it's really important for us to do that. So, we will continue to make sure that we can feed people. We've got more money in the budget for housing assistance. We have a record amount of money in the budget for affordable housing. So there's lots.
Before we get to affordable housing, let me go ahead and do the interpretation of this. Le preguntaba, ¿no?, cuáles son algunos de las iniciativas que cubre el presupuesto para proteger a aquellas poblaciones más vulnerables dentro de nuestra comunidad, adultos mayores, personas con discapacidades. En cuanto a los adultos mayores, expandir la entrega de alimentos, abrir una tercera localización para los almuerzos, los sitios de almuerzos nutritivos. En cuanto a personas con discapacidades, un incremento del 3% para aquellas entidades sin fines de lucro que colaboran otorgando servicio a estas personas necesitadas en nuestra comunidad, para que puedan darle frente a los salarios y a la inflación. Y en términos de vivienda asequible, pues el tema de la asistencia con el alquiler. So you mentioned affordable housing.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and transition to that. What are some of the initiatives and programs that have been introduced or expanded to address precisely affordable housing?
So we expanded the amount of money that's available for rental assistance. But we also are adding $65 million to this budget to help buy and build new affordable housing units. And so we work with partners, and so we're not the sole contributor, but we'll work with the nonprofit, and we help provide the nonprofit enough subsidy that they can make a project work. So the $65 million comes on top of what we already have in the housing budget, which is pretty substantial. And it's about $169 million total to expand, preserve, and produce affordable housing. And the rental assistance goes up to $22.9 million.
22.9. Asistencia para el alquiler a las personas que son inquilinos en el condado de Montgomery. Esa asistencia, ese monto va a continuar aumentado a $22.9 millones. El total para preservar y la retención de vivienda asequible en nuestro condado han sido propuestos $169 millones y también unos 65 millones para la compra de vivienda asequible y trabajar con aquellas entidades sin fines de lucro, ya que el condado no hace este trabajo solo, lo hace en asociación, obviamente con socios comunitarios. Así que eso es buena noticia. The Rental Assistance Program, that's something that came into existence during the pandemic and has been preserved after the federal funds.
The federal funds are gone, and we're continuing to invest. Food's another place. We were putting in millions of dollars into food assistance last year when the federal government disappeared. We continued. We added $17 million of our own money last year. We put $17 million back in again this year. We know people are still hungry. We know that they're struggling to get food on the table. We're still making sure we can help you do that.
En términos de la asistencia con el alquiler, esto era algo que entró en vigor durante la pandemia con la asistencia de fondos del gobierno federal. Esos fondos ya han desaparecido, pero el Ejecutivo Marck Elrich ha preservado estos fondos dentro del presupuesto. Lo hizo el año pasado, lo volvió a hacer este año para ayudar a las familias que son inquilinos. También en términos de la seguridad alimentaria, fue algo que vimos en nuestra comunidad con fondos del gobierno federal. Eso desapareció. Él puso $17 millones en el presupuesto el año pasado y este año vuelve a añadir los $17 millones. Sabemos que han aumentado los precios de los alimentos y que las familias pues aún están luchando para poder poner ese plato de comida en la mesa con los precios de la comida en el supermercado. Así que thank you for that. Muy importante. Public safety. Any significant changes in funding for public safety and law enforcement?
Well, let's see. We're adding probably 2 more of the drone responders, which we're using drones to get on scenes of crimes more quickly than the officers can, so they can, both get a camera on the scene to see what's happening, but also if there's a suspect, they can actually follow a suspect until the actual police are able to arrive. So that's a big, important thing for us. And so Germantown's is going to get a drone, and the hours in Silver Spring and Wheaton are going to be expanded till later in the night. So our coverage is going to increase. And this has been really important. They've been effective. And that's, the big deal for us is they actually are working and making sure we can we find the people we need to find.
En términos de seguridad pública, pues se va a expandir el servicio de los drones en las zonas de Silver Spring y de Wheaton. Se va a expandir a ese servicio más tarde durante las horas de la noche, añadir en la zona de Germantown, y los drones que tienen las cámaras han probado ser pues eficaces en nuestro condado de Montgomery, combatiendo el crimen, sobre todo en seguir a sospechosos antes de que llegue la policía. Han sido eficaces y han estado funcionando, y va a haber expansión y añadidura en términos de eso. Police hiring. MCPD.
It's a concept.
It's an idea.
So we're suffering with, like everybody else, is the inability to recruit police into Montgomery County. We've made a couple of changes which we hope are going to make a difference. I mean, first of all, we are going to be changing the college requirement, so you don't have to have a 60 credit degree, but you can actually join the force and take the courses that we want you to take while you're on the police force already, rather than having to do it before. That helps people, could bring people into the police department 2 to 3 years earlier than they otherwise would get into the police department. And so a lot of young people who want to be police officers, if they know they can't come in until they get a degree, they'll pick going someplace else that doesn't require it rather than coming here. We're also changing the regulations on marijuana use. The State Police Advisory Board refused to change them, even though it's legal in Maryland, and we're going to change them locally. So you can't smoke. Yeah.
Let me interpret that. En términos del Departamento de la Policía del Condado de Montgomery y la contratación, es un tema al cual no somos los únicos, es un reto en muchas jurisdicciones a través del país, y parte de lo que propone en términos de la contratación de potenciales candidatos para la policía es, por ejemplo, eliminar el requisito de que deben tener 60 créditos de college o universitarios para poder ingresar a la policía. Sugiere pues que se vayan tomando los cursos dentro de nuestra propia academia y ya están involucrándose en ser parte del cuerpo policíaco. Esto ayudaría a eliminar un proceso de espera de 2 a 3 años por quizás sobre todo aquellas personas jóvenes que tienen el interés de ingresar a la policía, agilizar la entrada a la academia básicamente, y el requisito del uso del cannabis, de la marihuana en el pasado. Sabemos que ha sido legalizada en el estado de Maryland. El estado pues no ha querido quitar la norma, pero a nivel local buscamos en nuestro condado de Montgomery eliminar ese requisito for the use of marijuana, the consumption in the past, correct?
Yep. So the state law was that you couldn't conceive 3 years, you couldn't use it 3 years in the past. And that's just, it's not realistic for a lot of young people. I mean, let's be honest about it. And now that it's legal in the state, the AG ruled that we can't hold it back. We can't prevent people from past use. What you can do, and what we'll say, is you can't use it from when you begin working or going into the recruit class. But up till then, you're okay, and we're not going to bounce you out. So that's another thing where they're going to other states that don't have this requirement, and they're going over there to get hired. So that's 2 things we know we need to do better. Third is we hired a consulting firm to work with our hiring. They worked with Fairfax County. They were able to greatly increase Fairfax's recruit class. We don't do so well in recruitment, and we've gone out and brought them in here to make sure they can do it. So
let me go ahead and say some of that in Spanish. En términos del consumo de la marihuana, pues a nivel estatal hay una ley que aquellas personas que deseen ser candidatos para la policía no deben haber utilizado el consumo, no deben haber consumido la marihuana 3 años antes de postularse para ser candidato. Lo que vamos a proponer, eso no es realístico, dice el Ejecutivo, para muchas personas jóvenes, y lo que estamos trabajando es para permitir que las personas no usen a partir de su punto de ser reclutados, de estar en la academia o de ya comenzar a trabajar. Que el uso no sea a partir de estar en la academia o trabajando. Otro paso para agilizar lo que es la contratación de policías en el condado, se ha contratado a una firma de consultoría que trabajó con el condado de Fairfax, pudieron aumentar las cifras de policías y nosotros estamos trabajando con ellos precisamente para poder aumentar el número de miembros en nuestro cuerpo de policía. We're down for about, 175?
About 175, approaching 200. We can, we have to figure out how to stem that tide and reverse it.
Exactamente. Pues tenemos la cadencia de unos 175, casi 200 miembros de la policía en el condado de Montgomery. Let's transition. You mentioned a little bit of mental health at the very beginning. Yeah. What strategies or investments are being made in mental health? And here you can mention the mobile crisis teams.
Yeah. So our budget increases the number of mobile crisis teams. We want to make sure that we don't send police to every event where a person's having a mental health issue. Those events can go very badly, and we know that. So we're trying to make sure we've got enough mobile crisis teams. So this budget adds 2 more. I expect, a year from now to probably come back and add a couple more then. And they respond and they provide a civilian response to somebody who's in crisis. And for a lot of people, that's a lot more appropriate than a police response.
En términos de salud mental, pues ha propuesto el Ejecutivo añadir 2 unidades móviles adicionales de respuesta ante crisis. Precisamente, estas unidades es una respuesta más bien civil en vez de miembros de la policía para cuando una persona está atravesando una situación de crisis, pues que sean ellos los que respondan. Tenemos oficialmente en el condado, we have 2 or 3 currently. I forgot. Great. Tenemos 3 en este momento.
Yes.
El Ejecutivo ha propuesto añadir 2. Para el próximo año propone añadir 2 más.
Yes.
Y también hemos recibido fondos para añadir 2 más.
We put the money in. I mean, as we hire up, this is something we'll go back and continue to expand. But we have to, we're trying to not add the money until we know we're going to be able to hire people. And so if we hire up these next 2 teams, then I believe we're going to take it a little bit deeper. So I'm excited about that. It's important to the community, and it makes people feel a lot better when they know we can bring civilians to the scene rather than relying completely on the police.
Exactamente. Esta es una buena noticia porque verdaderamente cuando responden cuerpos civiles capacitados y preparados, pues ante una situación de ansiedad, de depresión, de cualquier tipo de crisis, pues eso es una respuesta diferente a que se fuera un uniformado. También expandir estas unidades, pero hay que enfocarse en lo que es la contratación de personal dentro de estas unidades también, porque there's got to be a clinician within the unit as well, right? Un clínico y alguien que esté licenciado con el tema de salud del comportamiento, ¿correcto?
Try me in English on that.
But I forgot to say it in English. Somebody, ¿cómo se dice? Okay, it'll come to me. I'm just having a senior moment. Okay. I know how to say it in Spanish, but no in English.
Fair
that
enough.
Happens with a bilingual brain. And I got to tell you a story about what's happening with my brain. My brain's freaking out. I finally got hearing aids, and which I've needed for many years, and my brain is working in a different way while I adjust. So I apologize for not remembering how to say it in Spanish right now.
That's
All
okay.
right, let's transition to some of your initiatives to promote equity, diversity, and inclusion within recreation and the libraries.
In terms of our programming?
Yeah, the free
we continue to, expand our programming. For example, our rec centers are still free.
Yeah.
Except for the swimming pools. Everything else is a freebie. That's because swimming pools are so expensive to operate. But even they're pretty low rates for that. We've opened this large new center in Silver Spring. That's a big deal with an aquatic center. And
free passes for the gym.
And the gym is free. And so people can come in and get healthy and use our equipment and not have to pay for it. And it's what I wanted. I've always believed these things, since they're paid for with taxpayer money, it ought to be as close to free as possible. So I was happy to see us be able to make these free again. And that's a big benefit for people. We've extended Excel Beyond the Bell, which is one of the academic enrichment programs in the school system. Our libraries, we're increasing the diversity of materials in the library. So we're bringing in more and more foreign language reading materials and digital materials so that our collection can respond to broader needs in the community. So we're continue to be aware, and we do this racial equity analysis.
Let me go ahead and say some of that in Spanish. En términos de lo que es la inclusión, la diversidad y la equidad, programas, ¿no?, de nuestras bibliotecas, de recreación, pues la expansión del programa Beyond the Bell, que es un programa de recreación en los colegios después de clases, para las bibliotecas, la expansión de los materiales en otros idiomas, también continúan gratis la utilización de las salas de gimnasios para la salud de nuestros residentes en los centros de recreación, y se ha abierto el nuevo centro acuático y recreativo de Silver Spring. Mucha actividad. We only have about 4 minutes left, a lot to cover. We haven't covered climate or transportation, but very quickly, as far as environment, sustainability, and climate change, some of the key initiatives which I know they're dear and near to your heart.
So, we continue to increase funding for the transition of our bus fleet to electric buses, as well as our other vehicles. We've put $275,000 in to help under-resourced, in other words, people with not enough money who own buildings, like nonprofits and small businesses, to comply with our new building energy performance standards, which require buildings to clean up their environmental emissions. That's a big deal. We're building out an electric vehicle charging infrastructure so people can actually find charging stations around the county.
En términos de lo que es el cambio climático, pues fondos para ir transicionando a que la flota de nuestros autobuses sea eléctrica, $275,000 para asistir a los dueños de edificios, entidades sin fines de lucro a cumplir con todos los estándares de energía en infraestructura. También fondos para acceso a incentivos en términos de créditos tributarios para nuestros residentes, y lo más importante, pues mejorar lo que es las estaciones de carga eléctrica en el Condado de Montgomery para el uso de nuestros ciudadanos. We don't have much time left. We have about 2 minutes left, Mr. County Executive. A whole lot was not covered, and we know this operating budget, fiscal year 2025, and this is in the hands of County Council right now. We got to wait for the public audiences and their approval. So before we wrap up for today, thank you for joining us. As you know, we're celebrating, and I wanted to ask two of the ladies that have been the biggest contributors to this show in the last 12 years. Joel Motherman, who is our editor, nuestra editora Joel Motherman. La quiero agradecer a Patricia Valverde, que ha estado detrás de los controles en Radio América. Ladies, can we see you?
Hello.
Hello.
There is Joel.
Yes.
And Patricia, do I see you? Come on, turn on your camera so the county executive can see you.
Acá estoy con ustedes, pues la verdad, no sé si me puedan ver, ahora sí me ven, ahora sí.
No te veo, pero bueno.
Bueno, ahí probablemente.
Oh, there it is, we see you now. Now we see you.
Sí.
Pues, señor Ejecutivo, quería que en compañía suyo le demos gracias a estas dos damas que verdaderamente han sido un bastión en la producción de este programa. 12 años, señor Ejecutivo.
Yes.
Se dice fácil, pero it's a whole lot of work.
Así es.
It's exciting to make it 12 years. And, it's been really key, I think, in terms of our ability to reach out to the Hispanic community. We would not have been able to do it without a show like this. And so we want people to feel part of the community. There's nothing like a language program and, that you can understand, updating you on what the county's doing to help people understand that they're in Montgomery County and we actually care.
Exactamente. Este proyecto, pues, es algo para enviarle a nuestra población el mensaje de que nosotros nos interesamos y nos preocupamos. Así que muchísimas gracias por esa sintonía. And Mr. County Executive, this has lasted 12 years, longer than my marriage.
Ay, bueno, por mi parte, Lorna, te mando felicidades. De verdad, muchas felicidades para ti, porque eres una mujer muy trabajadora, una mujer muy humilde. Y pues gracias a ti estamos ahora ya 12 años al aire y de verdad tú traes mucha buena información a nuestra comunidad. Y pues yo sé, de parte de toda nuestra comunidad y nuestros oyentes acá de Radio América, pues te agradezco por esa gran labor que tú haces por todos.
Muchísimas gracias. Joel, you want to say a couple words? Come on, I know you're shy. But
it's been a great time.
Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you, Mr. County Executive, for joining us today. Generally, we have cupcakes. Actually, we have some cake here in the office. If you're going to be on the second floor, we'll send you some cake. You going to be there?
I'm here.
All right, we'll send you some cake. We have some cake and donuts here celebrating. Thank you. Muchísimas gracias por esa sintonía. Hasta el próximo martes.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Y hasta aquí su espacio, Montgomery al Día. Gracias por su amable sintonía y será entonces hasta el próximo martes a la misma hora por esta su emisora.